All right, we are live, fellas. Doug Rucker here with Pat Clark and Jeffrey Blackman, and we're just coming in here to give you guys a little, I don't know, some help, some tips, some tricks, and mainly talk about the Difference Makers Conference that's coming up February 6th and 7th, right here in Houston, Texas, and this is about nothing about cleaning or how to clean a building or how to clean a driveway or a roof or whatever. This is all about things for your business to help your business grow, from money matters, working with you on financial statements, P&L statements. We're going to actually show you and give you a sheet that you will be able to participate in figuring out how you should be pricing your jobs, where you should be pricing your jobs, so you don't have to ask on these groups or wherever, what should I charge for this? Got this job, what should I charge? you know, so we're going to talk a lot about money matters. We've got commercial properties that we're going to be talking about. Jeff's talking about creating vision, why you should never give up, creating different streams of revenue, as well as creating residual income. And so, Pat, you're going to talk on basics of commercial pressure washing. And, before I get into that, I heard a quote or saw a quote. I've seen it before. Um, and I just want to say this, that, price is what your customer pays, value is what they get. And so that's what we're trying to produce here with the Difference Makers Conference, is giving you value. You're going to pay about $350 to come attend this thing, but the value that you're getting for that amount of money is just going to be crazy. So, Patrick, talk a little bit about what you're going to be talking about and teaching. I know you've got two different things you're going to teach: commercial, basis of commercial, and also how to build a team. And so, touch a little bit, Pat, on also when you talk about building a team, that a lot of these guys are fairly new, they're just starting, or they've only been in business 2 or 3 years, short period of time, but they need to be looking at how to build a team so that they can get off the truck. So
yeah, well, no, that's what I'm really, really excited about. I mean, this is, coming back to the Difference Makers is, I don't know, refreshing. It's rejuvenating, right? Because when we've done it in the past, it's amazing the impact, the letters that we got. I mean, it was amazing afterwards, and just seeing, the light in people's eyes. And like you said, these are new guys in the industry. They might have been in for a couple of years, but they're really trying to dial in their pricing, or they're just trying to get a vision, right? What's the next step? And so for me, it's always, when I go to these events, it's talking to my past self, right? So when I talk about building that team, it's like, what was my mindset like? What was the shifts in becoming a manager to a CEO to, these different roles and these different hats that you need to put on as you build the team, and what it entails, because it's not for the faint of heart. You know what I mean? Like, you put in that good work, you put in the good word, you do what you can. And sometimes employees, they're just there for a paycheck. And so I want to touch a little bit on that, on touching on the culture that you can build in your company and how it can be so rewarding. We were just talking a minute ago, I got this, school bus over here on the side of the house here. And, I was able to travel the country for 30 days with my whole family. And it was amazing to be able to do that. And I couldn't have done that without building a team. And so that's what I'm really passionate about, is like putting people in place so you can gain the entrepreneurial freedom that the business will give you, right? And it doesn't have to be that way. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to be in that business day to day, that's completely fine too. But you need to level up your mindset in doing that, right? Because I had to do it in the beginning, right? I had to put food on the table, and it was hard winters and, a lot of grind and sacrifice, but, I wouldn't change a thing. And so I want to kind of inspire people about the journey in building the team. So that's going to be number one, right? That'll be class number one. I love that one. But there'll be a lot of ins and outs. And then talking about the basics of commercial, because that's what really, was a game changer for me. I remember when I got my first commercial job, and you remember this one, the 12-story Marriott.
Oh, yeah.
And so we've done a class there, and I'll always bring it back to there because that was my big job. And my coaches, everybody was like, dude, this is too big of a job, right? I got one truck, 12-volt SureFlow pump. And they're like, you can't clean a 12-story building with a SureFlow pump. Right. I was like, hold my beer. I don't drink beer, but you know what I mean? Right. Like, let's see what we can do. And, I had a lot of people, and that's what I love about our industry is they kind of poured into me and was like, no, do it. Let's see what you got, right? And I was like, with what God deals you, if you will, right? Like we see it day in and day out in business. And I think God shows up every day. And so with that in mind, I'm like, man, if God put this on my plate, I can do it, right? With him, we can do it. And so I just went all in, and we sure enough did it. You know what I mean? I had the landlord of my shop that I was renting at the time and now own the building. But at the time, his two sons came to work for me. It was literally me and his two sons. And we cleaned a 12-story Marriott. It took us 30 days. And man, it was a game changer. Like I remember getting that check, right? And it was like halfway through the job. We ended up getting half and half. And so I got that check halfway through the job. And this, I'm talking $20,000+. I thought I was the richest man in the world, right? I'm like, holy cow, your first big job. And
we're going out to dinner tonight.
Exactly. Yep. And so we ended up, we did actually. We were like, we got to celebrate the wins, right? And so we ended up, getting that project done. And I remember getting that final check. And I told myself, my wife at the time was driving a 1995 Astro van. And our kids, like, I think you've heard this story, Doug. My kids' car seats were literally ratchet strapped to the two front seats. I had a water tank in the back, and I was doing like ins and outs. I was doing auto detailing, pressure wash, all the things, right? Whatever it took to pay the bills. And so we're going to talk about that and how you like need to stay in your niche and not kind of go all over the place, because you got to stay in your lane. And I learned that a lot of years later. But, when I got that project done, I took that check and I literally went down to the used car dealership and I bought a 01 Honda Odyssey. It had the cassette, like, I guess it was a VHS movie player in the back of that thing for the kids, and it was like, dude, we were riding high at that time. And so we had that van for a lot of years. And so I just want to talk about those things, right? Like, going in and getting it, what that took, and overcoming a lot of obstacles. I mean, that's what happens is like, we don't know when you're in business, you don't know. It's the unknown and how scary that can be to do it. But again, I wouldn't change it for a thing. I learned so much. And these are things like iron sharpens iron, and we all have a story, right? Each speaker is going to bring something different that is going to add to your tool belt. And I think that's what's so powerful about the difference makers is it's not about the cleaning. It's not about how you do this. It's like more fundamental. It's okay. These are the things that we've done building the company, not just cleaning, right? So these are things that you're going to take away. And it's going to be something you can implement the next day, right? And things that you'll implement for years to come. And you might not be in that stage of implementation, but guess what? You start doing the little things, then next year you will be. And you're like, that's what Doug was talking about. That's what Jeffrey was talking about. And these things will start coming as the years go on. And this is something that, again, you're going to take away. And that, like you said, Doug, the price, right? Like it's this little thing to everything that you're going to get. And that's what I love about this conference that you put on.
Yeah. And so, I was thinking a while ago when you were talking about the building and the pump, and never done something like that. People saying you can't do it without equipment. I'm sure what you did, and I'm segueing into something here, is you just looked that building over and created a vision of how you were going to take this thing on.
Yeah.
And so that's what I always teach is when you have a job, you get your jobs, you go out there and you look at it, you get a vision in your mind where you're going to start, where you're going to end, what obstacles am I going to run? Okay, I got ceiling fans, I got door hardware, I've got this kind of stuff. I'm going to start here, I'm going to end up here.
Yeah.
You know, I got to make sure I'm watch where I'm walking through here, because there's a big hole right there in the ground. A dog dug up, and don't twist my ankle or whatever.
Yeah.
So Jeff always starts this off. He has for the last couple of years. We've been doing these, just he and I, with creating a vision. And so, Jeff, talk about a little bit about, you know, what you talk about, how a guy creates a vision for his company.
Well, first of all, I always like to start off saying a vision. Having a vision it's a clear picture of what you want your business to look like. And the second thing I always say that it's like a map to guide you to success. The third thing I say is that think about where you want to see your company to be in 5, 10 years or 20 years. And the fourth thing I like to say is that it helps you stay focused, motivated, and clear about your goals. So one of the things that we do is that we create what is called a vision board. And we put this vision board before us. You know, when I first started out, hey, I wanted 3 trucks. I wanted 3 trailers. I put everything I wanted on that vision board. And what I would do before I go to sleep and when I wake up, I would meditate on that vision board every day, because I wanted to get that inside of me, because I had to see myself there before I got there. And after that, you know, I had to come up with strategies, you know,
Sure.
in the meanwhile of that vision. And I wish I could say that it's going to be all peaches and cream when you get this vision that you're going to, hey, I got this vision. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to build $1 million company. And I want to tell you, if anybody told you they got a vision and they became a millionaire overnight, I like to say it this way: it was a long night.
Right.
It was a long night, because in the striping part of my business, what I do before, like you and Pat was saying, I have a vision in my mind before I even go out to attack that project. We first have what is called a safety meeting. We talk about where we're going to set up at, how we're going to attack this. And then we come and we always block the area off first to incoming and ongoing traffic, because it is safety. My vision is that the way we came is the way we're going back home. So that's just a few of the things that I talk about, you know. But the most important thing I try to emphasize to the most is to drive into your head is that you have to have a vision board, because you have to have something that's going to hold you accountable.
Sure. Absolutely. And even not even just a 5 to 10 year period, but it's just, you know, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. Where do you want to be? How do you want to look? So that's very key. You know, I'm trying to get this shared out into one of the groups here. Hold on one second.
Yeah. No, I love that too, guys, because like when you get that vision board, everybody's got different backgrounds. And that's what I love about these too, is like you got engineers, you got, you know, construction work, you name it. They're bringing all that in to like envisioning the project and how they're going to do it. And then getting little tidbits from these kinds of events, you know what I mean? Of like how, you know, Jeffrey does it. And then you put that with their mindset of the way they do. And everybody does it a little bit different. You know, some people, they go all in and they're very detail oriented in how they execute a project. And so it's cool to see that too. You know what I mean? How people, you know, just go about it. I love seeing that.
Right. There's a question Jim's asking. Having a vision is good, but without customers, it won't happen. Can you explain that? Should I be the $99 guy? LOL. So Jim, I don't think you're serious about the $99 guy, but yeah, you're right. Having a vision is good. But to me, they're kind of two separate things, kind of what we're talking about. Of course, if we're going in business, hopefully we've already done our market research and we've done our due diligence that we're going to have customers and we've got customers lined up, that type of thing. But the vision that we're talking about is visioning that that company from groundbreaking, from the onset. How do you want your uniforms to look? How do you want the trucks to look? You got to see that. You got to vision that and see everything. And you were talking a little bit earlier, Patrick, about building a team and all the places. I actually do a thing. I'll be doing a thing where I help them mind map their business, where I break it down into operations, finance, and sales. Those are the three things, I encourage guys to start off with and look at everything. And then I actually show them what's in each one of those. And, sales is when you're a solo guy and you're in sales, you're the estimator, you're the sales guy, you're the marketer, you're everything, You have a lot of hats that you have to wear. And so I go through and show all those hats for what has to be at the end. I say, so who does all this? And they all take guesses. And I said, nope, you're doing finance, you're doing operations, you're doing, buying of the parts, buying of the materials, all of that kind of stuff. So creating that vision also goes with a lot. You ever use mind map, Pat?
I love mind mapping. Yep.
Yeah. I know Jeff uses it. It's a great little tool because you can, move your little things around. You forget something. Oh, this should be over here. That type of thing. So,
yeah.
We also have Pat, one of the property managers that I do work for is actually coming in on Friday at 10 o'clock. He's coming in the February 7th. So he's coming in to speak and talk to guys about, what they look for. He does a lot of industrial type big warehouse buildings and warehouse office parks and stuff like that. But he's very familiar with other property management like shopping centers, medicals, all that kind of stuff.
Right. Doug, you're going to have mine.
I love that.
Mind if I expound on that question just a little bit? I'm not going to put too much out there because I expound on that question a little bit. Well, yeah, that one there. When I like to say it this way, when having a vision, you have to have a plan of action to go along with your vision. And that plan of action should be what type of customers are you going after? Because a customer is not going to just come to you. You have to begin to learn how to pursue your customers and knowing what you're targeting. Number one, is there a need for another pressure washer in this area? Because sometimes a part of your vision may be to do it in Tomball, but it may have a need for a pressure washer in Conroe. So sometimes your customer may not be right underneath you. You may have to kind of go out of your comfort zone a little bit to get that customer that you desire to have. Because like you say, a vision, you have a vision with no customer. Well, what good is a vision without a plan of action?
Correct. Exactly. So that is key, like you're saying. And I try to get guys also to, figure out their niche. What is it that they want to do? Don't try to be all things to all people. Hone in on something first. As a matter of fact, brand new guys that are just starting that come through the school here, and we teach them how to operate machinery and teach them how to surface clean, teach them how to clean a roof, all that kind of stuff. I generally tell them, just start off with cleaning driveways. Go out there and tag doors. Here's your price for your driveway. Tag 50 doors, 100 doors in a day, and just clean driveways. And then that usually will breed into how much to clean the front of the house, since you're cleaning the driveway, And then before you know it, you're often cleaning full houses and driveways. And then I try to get guys to wait at least a year before they start cleaning roofs, just simply because I feel, nowadays it's become kind of a high risk, low reward based on some of the prices that I see out there that guys charge versus what we did 10 years ago. Not to say you can't still get those pricing, but to Jeff's point, you've got to target in onto the right clientele that appreciate the value that they're getting and understand the value that they're getting for the price that you're charging. So that's very key. That's very important to make sure that you're working on expressing your value, showing your value, explaining your value. That's why I tell guys that when you're asking somebody else, what should I charge? What can they base that on? They can only base it on what their company needs to be profitable, not what you need to be profitable. So if you take that guy's price and you go share that price, that may be too low for you. It may be too high for you. That guy may be going out of business. You never know. So, you just got to be careful. So also, Ray Burke is also going to be here, and he's going to be talking about commercial property a little bit beyond what Patrick will be talking about. And then he's also talking about government contracts, how you can get government contracts, that type of thing. Patrick, share a little bit about how you got started in this business, what it took for, you don't have to really get into I know you had some really dark days, but from the moment you got into the business, what it took for you to kind of get customers and what you did as far as some marketing or whatever.
Yeah. So, when I got into the business, I was 20 years old. I didn't know anything about business, right? I didn't know P&Ls. I didn't know all the things. I just knew that I could make a customer happy by doing a really good job, right? And so
Right.
I started off and I was working for the builder and I was cleaning spec houses. So the painter was doing it. I was like, what are you charging the painter? I was like, I'll do it. And he was like, dude, I'll pay $100 a house. And this goes to your pricing because I was like, I didn't know what a house wash would be. And so we were just rinsing off houses, brand new houses, just getting the dirt off. And so we were doing houses, 3-4 houses a week at $100 a pop. And I was like, man, some of these jobs are taking me 7-8 hours. I'm like, this doesn't make sense, right? Like I can work and make $15 an hour. And so then I started figuring out, what I should be charging, right? Then I got on the forums, and this was before Facebook. This is before all that. This was the grime scene forums, some of the OG forums. And so I started getting on there, and then I started looking at going to an event. And that's when really things started changing, right? Was like going to the event, seeing whatever other contractors were doing. And so I went to this one big event. I think it was in Myrtle Beach, and it was closer to me. And I dropped my 2 kids off at my wife's parents' house, and we didn't have enough money to stay at the 2-day event, like at the hotel. And so we ended up putting a mattress in the back of the van. We're like, we'll just camp out. It's warm, and I forget if somebody saw us get out of the van the next morning. I can't remember exactly, but they knew that we slept in the van, and we just kind of made like an adventure out of it. It wasn't really a big deal to us, and so we went to that 2-day event. I remember this guy in front of us was like, he was talking to the guy next to him, and he's like, I sprayed this roof, and it took me about 3 hours, and I walked away with $1,000. And I'm like, what? I'm like, me and my wife looked at each other, we're like, no freaking way, right? Because you don't know what you don't know. And so then I started really looking at roof cleaning, and that's how things really started changing, was like my pricing started changing. And so I was always looking at what the internet was saying, what other guys, my local competition, what they were charging, right? I was always looking at that. And like, to your point, Doug, is like, you can't, because they might be going out of business, right? And they might be doing $129 or $300, whatever it was, right? When in reality, you really need to look at your numbers. And so that's when I started diving into numbers. I started looking at more coaching. I started getting mentors, right? So I was like 23, 24 years old, and things really started looking up as far as my marketing, right? I started looking at, okay, how do I get customers? How do I get a lot of customers? And so I remember putting out 500 flyers. And I'm like, dude, if I put out 500 flyers, I'm going to be so busy. I had no idea about like a conversion rate. I had no idea about any of that. I'm just like 500 people, 30 homes. Dude, if 200 people call me or 300 people call me, I'm going to be so busy. And it's just funny. So
vision
funny.
there. That's vision there.
That's vision, exactly.
Big vision.
And so, my vision blew up real quick when there was crickets on the phone, right? Nobody was calling. I might have gotten one call out of 500 flyers. You know what I mean? Come give me an estimate. I need a patio cleaned. And I'm like, come on, right? So I started looking at marketing, and then we started doing more marketing. And now, obviously, we do tens and thousands of flyers and stuff like that every month. And so when I started looking at the marketing, it wasn't just one thing. It was a lot of things that worked together, right? The door knocking, the business card at the gas station, the flyer under the windshield wiper. It was whatever I could do because I had more time than money at the time. You know what I mean? I didn't have money to throw at marketing. I had more time. And that's what I used, right? Was like I got up at 4:00 in the morning. I would get my flyers ready. I would go out what I called the mail route. I would be out there when the guy's throwing papers in the driveway. Nobody's else. Everybody's sleeping. I'm out there putting door hangers out. I'm out there throwing things on the driveway, whatever it was. I was getting the word out. And so I was just doing it en masse. And then I got friends and family and whoever could help out. Then we started getting some traction. I was like, okay, let me focus on my wins. Then I started a spreadsheet. Where are my leads coming from? Who's my customer avatar? Then I did a really big thing. And I took my map of my territory and I broke it down to where my leads were coming from in my CRM. This is, obviously a couple of years later because I didn't have a CRM in the very beginning.
Right.
It was a calendar book. And so, getting a CRM, huge breakthrough for me because then I could start putting that stuff in and start tracking it, running reports. So anyway, I broke my territory down into 2 areas. And that really spoke to me was let me hone in on these 2 areas and just get hyper focused on these things. And so that's what we did. And we started really dialing in our customer avatar, where they went to eat, because then guess what? That restaurant had pens with our logo on it. I found out where they shop. I really started, back before, the cell phones tracked everywhere you go now and they follow you. I was kind of doing that with, where our customers were going. What areas did they go? How far did they go to work, right? And then I started putting my junky old trucks at the Lowe's that was on the way to their work. And I parked it out front, right? Then they saw my logo there. Then I started the yard signs. I started putting out yard signs wherever they were. That way they saw my brand multiple times. And then I started building a brand before I even knew about brand. And so that's really what it started doing it for me. And then that's what started the leads coming in. And then I was like, okay, I'm busy now. I remember we would get so busy that I was running 10 estimate appointments in the day. My wife was running 8 in a day, and we just couldn't keep up. And then I was like, okay, I took my best lead tech. I made him a sales guy. I'm like, dude, you know how to measure. You kind of know how to talk to customers. Help me. And then that was my first salesperson, because it's hard. You can't find people that are wanting to invest in a pressure washing company. Like, what do you do? I do pressure washing. No, man, I'm good. I'm going to go work for another company. Right.
Right.
And I believe it, right? Because you got to start with the vision. Like you're saying, Jeffrey, if you don't have a vision, you don't have it up on the wall, you don't believe in what you're doing. How are you going to get other people to believe in you as a leader to come work for you? And that's a little bit about what I'm going to talk about too in building the team.
Wow. So Jeff, to kind of close this thing out, he puts out 500 flyers, gets crickets. Why not just give up at that point in time?
Well, no, because giving up for
see where I'm going with this?
No, it shouldn't be an option. Giving up, because Pat and I talked once before. We had kind of a similar story. In 2005, I could have gave up sleeping under a bridge, homeless in New Orleans, Louisiana, using the same bottle of water to brush my teeth, to wash my face, wash up under my arms, and use a little to heat up an MRE and preserve some for later that day or the next day. So at that point in my life, I had every reason to give up. But giving up wasn't an option for me because I knew that it was something greater ahead for me. And I like to say it this way: the world has to yield to a persistent man. If you continuously to be persistent, you're going to find a way to break through the walls that are trying to hold you back. So at the end of the day, that's one of the things that I send you off with. Doug and I, Pat and Raymond, the rest of us, going to send you off with to encourage you that giving up is not an option. You have to begin to believe in not what you see, but focus on what you saw. And if you continue to focus on what you saw, it will not, trust me, you will not give up, because one day you're going to be a Pat Clark or a Doug Rucker or a Raymond Burke. Don't focus on where you're starting at. Focus where you're ending up at. And man, I'm telling you, it's going to be powerful. Matter of fact, bring you a box of tissue because you're going to need it.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's just the thing that Jeff talks about at the end. The last thing that we talk about is why you should never give up. And Jeff has a very compelling story and compelling reasons, every reason to give up, and yet he didn't. And so again, this is the Difference Makers Conference coming up here in Houston, Texas. That's February 6th and 7th. And it's actually 2 weeks from tomorrow is where we're going to be doing this. So you want to get registered. We've got several that have already registered. There is limited seating. The room is only so full. We can only handle about 30 to 40 people. So you want to get signed up for this as soon as you possibly can at pressurewashingschool.com/events is where you can find it. And look at this guy. Look at that. That's sweet. Thank you, Cabando. But anyway, yeah, let's get to this. This will change your life. There's several guys that have attended this, and many. As a matter of fact, there's one guy, Ricardo, that has attended every single Difference Makers Conference that we've ever put on, no matter where it's at. Atlanta, Cocoa, Florida, Houston, 2 or 3 different times. He just keeps coming back because he said every time it just gets better and better. And so with us 4 guys in the room, it may be the last time we ever have us 4 together. You just never know what's going to happen. You never know where our lives take us. So you want to make sure that you get there, and the experience and knowledge that we're ready to share. And the reason it's called Difference Makers is because we're sharing things that have been the difference makers, not only in our businesses, but in our lives. And so that's very important to us to get you guys into a room where we can talk about business related stuff, not how to spray bleach onto algae and get it to change color. Okay. That's very important too. You got to know that. But if you're wanting a real bona fide business, then these are the things that we're going to be talking about that you need to go. Patrick, thank you so much for joining us. Been awesome to have you. I know you're a busy man. Jeffrey, take us out of here.
February the 6th and 7th. Get online, register today. We're going to see you live in Kingwood, Texas. Like Doug said, this may be the last time you see us 4 in a room together because we have a lot of different schedules. So guys, get online, register. You wouldn't want to miss the information that's going to be available for you to go back and advance your company. Trust me, don't miss it.
All right. Thanks, guys. Pat, we'll talk
Thank
to you.
you.
Jeff,
Yep. See you guys soon.
All right, Pat, take it easy.
Yes, sir. You guys too.
All right.
That was good. Oh, wait.